Spider-Man is my second favourite superhero of all time. No prizes for guessing who's number one. So I'd like to consider myself to be rather knowledgeable about him. Spidey is such a spectacular character, but in the mainstream Amazing Spider-Man comics, things are always getting rebooted or rewritten. Or sometimes Spider-Man's body is being controlled by Doc Ock. But that one is a story for another time. The Spider story that I'm recommending takes place in the Ultimate Universe. Any Marvel titles with Ultimate in them take place in an alternative universe where most things are the same, but characters' origins are all updated, and the continuity doesn't run from way back in the mid-20th century. The Ultimate Universe began in the year 2000, and one of its original, ongoing series was Ultimate Spider-Man. This series, for me, is the best portrayal of the character ever. It's what truly made me fall in love with Spidey and his adventures. Throughout the series, Spidey encounters pretty much all of his classic villains, but in this version of his story, they aren't goofy. It's all grounded in reality, to an extent of course, because it is still a comic after all, and it makes everything so much more interesting. We also have a big cast of characters including Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson, Gwen Stacy, J. Jonah Jameson, and all the usual suspects. Most ongoing comics often have writers and artists constantly changing, which can often have a negative impact on the long-term storytelling. However, in Ultimate Spider-Man, Brian Michael Bendis was in charge the whole time, which means from the start he was able to plan what he wanted from his stories. The choices he makes stay relevant and allow the reader to really connect with Peter Parker. I read most of this back when I was still in school, and so I could relate to a lot of the things he was dealing with. Not so much the supervillains and superpowers, but more the dealing with schoolwork, family, and girls. Peter Parker is young in this series. He is 15 when he first gets his powers, and if you thought your teenage years were dramatic, they had nothing on his. In that way, it is kind of like a soap opera. However, don't let that put you off. I have returned to the series many times to read random story arcs since my school days, and it still holds up. It isn't all just teenage angst. The writing is so strong that it hasn't aged or lost relevance. The only thing that has perhaps aged is Peter Parker's hairstyle. Believe me though, you'll forgive that when you dive into the series. It is a complete story, meaning that unlike the mainstream Amazing Spider-Man comic, this has a definitive ending. And it is a fantastic ending. In fact, this is one of the few comics that has ever made me cry. Yes, that is a very short list. But believe me, it is an emotional tale. There are 160 issues, however, you'll never get your hands on those. So what I recommend is either downloading them, use the Marvel Unlimited app, or buy the collected trade paperbacks. There are 22 volumes of Ultimate Spider-Man, and they had a relaunch where they renamed the title Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, and there's a further 4 volumes of that. As you can see, that's a whole lot of Spider-Man. However, every volume is important, and every volume is good. If you don't believe or trust me, then here's a treat just for you. I recently acquired the first 4 volumes. Again. That's right, I already own them, and so I'm willing to give away my duplicates. All you have to do is leave me a comment underneath saying who you think should be the next Spider-Man villain. Now, there are rumours that Michael Keaton will be playing the Vulture, so you can't choose that as your answer. I do want you to cast this character as well. I will choose a winner from the comments by the end of June, and I will send your prize out to you not long after that. If you don't win my competition, please do read Ultimate Spider-Man anyway, as it is fantastic. So, thanks for watching, please leave a like, comment your entry for the prize, and subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this. Oh, and remember, as your Uncle Ben always says, with great power comes great responsibility. And Spider-Man is awesome.